if you can believe it, I was trying to cut the shaft with this. A lot of metal was coming out, but it just seemed like it was mushrooming it more than anything else. But I got a nice, then at least if I score it like this, then I know that it's perfect circle, but it's pretty deep. Not much, but I just figured I'm going to rest this guy up against it and slowly turn the wheel, turn the shaft, and everything should work with this. Just going like that, or this way. We'll see. A little bit of unfortunate stuff. I basically had to shave that down. I was using this guy here because it was like significant enough. This thing here we made 3/4 on the lathe, and that's 3/4. So originally when I tested this size, I just took an open end wrench, and you see, had to push a little bit, but this is 19 millimeter. Okay, so I'm guessing now. I didn't film this before. Oh, look. See how much loose? How is 3/4 looser? This is an old wrench. 19 millimeters is supposed to be bigger. Now, granted, I have some marring there. But I just think it's in the process of everything, it's not... It ends up being a little bit bigger on these pipes. So I actually have the end here tapered down, because I was kind of going crazy because I was going bonkers, but I was thinking that because I used the other thing first, it really, fucked this up, the way it looks. So I should have just cut it to begin with. Putting that thing there was a good idea to get a perfect, circle, because then you make a perfect circle and then you can grind it better. But I had a tough time putting it on, and I ended up making it 2 inches longer than where I originally marked it, because I'm like, I can always cut this down. But if I shove this guy in here, hang on a second. It's kind of a comical fit. Like, it goes on, and then it's tight after a certain point. So that's not a bad fit in the end, being really tight to the bar like that. Oh. See, hang on. Oh my gosh, I did it again. Yeah, I might have to grind it down more if I want to get it on further. But you see, I got the pipe going through, and I'm sure that if I push harder, I can get it on. And that'll make a good fit, to be honest. But I'm debating if I should try to hone out the thing what we did here. But apparently, it's not really perfectly 3/4, I mean, it's not like it's 20 millimeter. I didn't take off that much, but it needed to be massaged for sure. So now I'm going to hold this like this for the most part. And then I'm going to just double check the brake pedal. I really want to find the actual, what do you call it, the pin this time, so it's in the right place for sure. Now what I've realized is that this is probably just like the press fit 3/4, and because 19 fits tight on it, 3/4 doesn't, but they're all old wrenches. But in the end, I really don't think I measured it with the calipers, but this is definitely 3/4, so it's probably just cause that it has to be shaved down a little bit. I think I'm going to go a little bit further down the shaft because I wanted to get it a little bit down further, because this guy here, I really don't want to cut it. I know it sounds mundane, but it's a perfect fit, This is an exhaust piece, actually, that I cleaned up, took the label off. Okay, and this actually has an imperfection on it with this, which I may or may not, clean up. This is from cutting it with the pipe cutter. But it fits over, and that's good though. And what I was going to do is epoxy this thing either on this one or on the other one. Probably on the other one, so I can go over this. But it comes right up to here, and it doesn't fit in this guy. Now, granted, this is a split thing here, but it doesn't quite seem like it wants to go. And it works out that way. If I got it down on the shaft a little more, it's not going to hit it, and then the other one will come right up. This one sandwiched up again. It should be pretty solid then, because then this is the thing that gets bolted here, you know. So I'm going to clean this up a little more. Get it down further. I'll probably end up trimming the top here, and I'd like to find a better way to actually do that. So I may hold off. You know, like some kind of honing tool that can go over it, almost like a plumbing tool, you know, but obviously that's just a wire brush, but something that would actually take a little meat off of it or something along those lines. Like, just figure like a flex home, but goes on the outside kind of thing. But I don't think it's worth buying a tool for it. You know, it'll probably go a lot quicker because that thing's kind of beat up. But in a certain sense, then I can't take off too much then. But I don't see it really, you know, being an issue. And in the end, God forbid, this thing, you know, I don't have this on all the way. You know, I mean, it's on all the way, but I don't have it on permanently. And I have to put a bearing in there. And that's the other thing about the bearing. The bearing may have to be pressed on in order to do that, or I may have to take it off and start cleaning this up so the bearing goes on. Because if it was an issue, I was thinking about, you know, actually putting some kind of stop. I had 3 different types of bearings. One that'll fit on the inside of it, one that'll go on the outside and has a little lip, and I might have to clean this up more. I don't know, you know, until I get the bearing in. And I don't know if it's going to fit over the shaft very well. You know, I don't know if it's press fit or a slip fit, you know, kind of thing. So it may be best to not go, you know, super duper crazy on this right now. I think where it ends up, like right there, I just like, I put it on, pushed it on, and then, you know, this guy ends up being like this. This is going to go up, but it's hitting wiring. It's pretty much there, but let me just show you when I put this sleeve on. And this guy, like I said, it's not going there. I can cut a small piece, but it's right there on that thing. Hang on. So it's pretty much right in the spot now. I might have actually pushed it on, and that's what I was saying, that like it may be fine. It's probably best I don't even take more off, because it may just be a press fit and that's it. You know, the problem is getting it off. You know, if you had to service it for whatever reason, but you know, I suppose you can just knock it off. You know, if you hammer it on with not a lot of force, it's just like a simple, call that. But that's kind of in the center where it used to be. And then this can be rotated up a little bit. Of course, it's in the end, it's hitting the wiring. It'll go up like that probably. But the other thing is, what I was thinking about is making some kind of semicircular, hear me out, like a semicircular cover here. Or very simply, like hang a piece of like leather or material that goes across here just to kind of hide it a bit. You know, this has got to go like that, or it's got to go the other way. But something along those lines. This is something that you're always going to end up seeing, you know. But like I said, you can hide it. You know, it's possible. And, you know, the brake pedal doesn't hit anything. Well, I might have spoke too soon, but like I said, it may need to be rotated a little bit. This is the thing for the brake light, and I just don't think your pedal is going to go all the way down here. But you know, I mean, if you lost your brakes, you have other problems. But I'm just trying to hold it in the area that it was in. Yeah, so that was right about there. Yeah, it's like that little thing is hitting right there. And that could change. It would change if I actually rotated it, you know, this way, which it's hitting the bracket right now. Like I was going to get it up from there. So, you know, having it up would probably make it hit more. So, you know, if I go like that. That little corner of that bracket, it's literally just holding a brake light switch. And it depends how far the brake light switch was going through. I think it was going through a lot before, but now I want to put a different brake light switch in anyway. And I might actually do the whole thing different. I may end up having, maybe I'll drill a hole through it. Since I got everything open and it's able to be done, I think it hits, yeah, this was like a rubber bushing that was in here. So what I can do is drill a hole there, a 1/2-inch hole, and just have the switch up there. That way the switch is staying put. Because in a certain sense, the switch was going for a ride, which I have it in another friend's car. It's fine, but that's on a Falcon. But, you know, it might be, all things considered, it might be very close to all this shit now, you know. But this could be grinded down. This is a gusset here. I can grind that down, you know. It depends, you know. And then I'd have to put some kind of, like a bolt and a nut with a little washer to stop it, to be able to hit the brake light when I needed to, hit the brake switch when I needed to. So ultimately, it's pretty much all the way up. You know, I don't have the pin on; it's around here somewhere. But yeah, so that's a little bit of an issue. But I'm worried about how if I put the switch backwards, it may not be so user friendly at that point. I'm not 100% sure why this is. I don't know. I have to get I could probably just use a bolt. Skinnier one. I think it's 3/8, but. Maybe that's why it came undone, but it might have looked fine, but it may have not been so fine. But, oh, here's the pin. All right. Take out this cotter pin, and, so, let's see if we go like that. Yeah, that's pretty damn, like, right on the top of it. Huh. Oh, there's a little bit of play here. You know, which is normal, you know, like right here, all this is not hitting anything. So that's your 3/4 of an inch of end play, but it's actually a little bit more, okay, because I was probably leaving room for the switch. So I don't know if flipping it around is going to do all that much for it. I was pretty sure this is all I can go with this particular rod, and then we'd have to change rods and do other things, and, you know, but this is way more than your 3/4 of an inch of end play, so that I was giving myself an extra bit of room for the thing. Even though it's springing back, it's not applying the brake. It doesn't apply the brake till here, and you don't want it. You want 3/4 of an inch, which is like right here. But then that little bit will give me more. And as far as this guy, this is exactly 1.5 inches with this guy. It's like 1.5 inches plus this this locking thing. So I'm going to do the same thing. So I can get a bushing. It should be 1.5 inches long, 3/4 on the inside diameter, whatever it is. Weld a rod that goes into this guy so that when I can play with it, I can play with the height and everything. And all it needs to be is just an in-between thing that just to hold it up. You know, like I said, this motor is going to be probably rotated up. Problem is that you can't rotate it too much because it hits the wiring, and then I can pass the wiring, but I don't think that you can, you know, no matter what. Yeah, in order to straighten this out, see, now it's over, I'm like on top of the wire. Okay, I just pushed the wiring out of the way. It was harder to do with my hand, so that was up significantly in a certain sense. And then it actually is hitting. The wiring coming out of this actually ends up hitting the brake bracket. So you really have to. It's got to be maybe here, you know. So when you're looking at it, you don't really see that motor, you know. So that's not so bad. You do see this, of course. But like I said, some kind of cover of some sort, I think will work. If you can picture something that would look at the time like you go through the Western Beef, you know, the big walk-in freezer, and you push away the metal, the rubber, you know, clear plastic door, if you want to call it, the sliding thing, you know, something along those lines. But yeah, I just pushed the wires out of the way a little bit, and like I said, with the threaded rod, I think it should work. And right now, it's not you know, like I really wanted this particular thing to be perpendicular to the floorboards, and it's not. It actually needs to come down in order to be perpendicular. So I'm looking like this. It's close, but I want it to be able to go, but it's right there at the precipice of this guy, you know. So, and there's another bolt here that's holding something. Oh, it's a rubber stop for the clutch that was here, so I can pull that out and have a, you know, like a triangle triangle bracket of some sort. So the threaded rod goes on one, and I can make something go off of this and go to the same point, you know, something along those lines. So looking good, what do you say? Alrighty, so I made this guy, which they make a perfect size one. Just painted it, so I can't really do much. But I don't know if I'm trimming that a little bit. I don't think so. I mean, if anything, I just trim the front here, but I'm not sure it's even necessary because it goes through a little bit. And like I said, it'll be like almost like a conical fit. And I bought a bunch of bearings too. Yeah, so basically what I'm doing with this, I'm putting it right through here with washers and lock washers and whatnot, and using this, and it's in perfect alignment to where this has to go. It's going to really be nice, you know. It's going to really support it well, even though it's kind of small, but, you know, there's other things going to be supporting it as well. So all it needs is to prevent it from, you know, turning and stuff. So other than this bolt not being big enough, you know, because it's kind of, you know, holding by the bolt as opposed to just holding the bracket where it had to be, but I don't see it really being an issue, you know. So I bought several different bearings. I bought this style, which will fit in the tube, but it goes on here where I grinded it down, but it doesn't really go on past that. Like it's like a press fit, so I can probably hammer it on, but it's probably not even that. It's because I think I found out, I don't know if I mentioned in the video, but I found out that it's actually 757, not 750. So it's not quite 3/4, although in certain places it's 3/4 for whatever reason. I guess because they had to make sure that where it went into the bushing, into the steering column, it was 750. You know, that bushing that's in the column, it basically contacts, I think, here, you know. And if you put this guy on, this fits just fine up to this point. And then it's kind of tight, you know. And this I didn't grind down. So being that I grounded it in the middle of the thing there, that made it better. Now, that being said, so I don't have to keep going crazy on that, I have a different bearing. First of all, I got this bearing, which is similar to that bearing, but it has no flange. And I was thinking inside the tube if I needed to do something like that. I don't think I will. I gather it goes through here as well. But I was almost thinking to, oh, look at that. It's a lot tighter. It's a lot tighter than the other one is. But even if I can somehow get this in the column somewhere, I think I was looking at the other one that was flanged. When you look at this guy, because that'll overall improve the strength and durability of everything as opposed to relying on the bushing, which, yeah, I can put a new bushing if I can find one. But imagine doing that. But, yeah, that's loose fitting. So there's the flange one actually is also loose fitting. But the flange part looks like if I had it hard enough, it would fit in there. Not that I would do that. And I'm like, I don't know how much it affects this. I have a feeling it really doesn't look like it affects it, you know. I'm not quite sure if I have this right as well. Like, I don't know if it goes this way. Wait, where's the threaded holes? Yeah, so it goes this way, actually. It can get kind of touchy with that, you know, so. But I bought different guys because, like, this guy here should technically fit in this side, but it's not 3/4 coming out of here. You know, this would bang in, and so would the other one. You know, so like I said, that other one that I just showed you, it would definitely bang into place. Be nice if I can. It would bang into place, but the center wouldn't be right. I have to grind that down. Waiting for paint to dry in 35-degree weather. There was can't remember if I had it. I lose stuff when I put it 2 feet away from me and I lose it. I must have put it down for safekeeping somewhere. Oh, it's like, where's the bag? This is the bag that it came in. Okay. I thought maybe I put it back in the bag because I did at one point. Anyway, it's a much heavier roller bearing. It almost seems perfect for this kind of application. This is off the front of the steering column. Let me find this thing and I'll start another video. All right, after much talking to myself, I'm like, where did I put this? And I realized I put it here. And the whole time in the video, this is the bearing. As you can see, it's big with these giant rollers in there. And it actually fits down, any part of the shaft. So if I take this part, which we know is looser up top here, I can get it to go on. It's tighter here. But on the other one, it looked like it was going down. So, I thought I got it on the back end of here too. Yeah, see, look, I think it's just the way you hold it, So, it's just the way you enter or something. Or, who knows what imperfections it has. They made sure this was 3/4 and then this kind of goes haywire or later on down the road there. So, this guy, it fits in the shaft underneath without having to force it. Whereas if I have to put on that, the U-joint a little further, I may have to cut it and use that sander to go around it to get it closer. This is that piece that it goes on. And this is not going to be a problem getting this in. I'm pretty sure of that, But I do want to grease this up. I want to pack it with grease and hammer that in. And that way this thing can come out separately because it has a clamp on the bottom here where the slot is. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the hole here. It doesn't really affect anything. But I gather water can get in there, so I'd like to cover it with something. I'm not quite sure. I might just simply use tape or something like that, like Gorilla duct tape, because that's really all I have. There was a piece that was from the original steering that went there, and I hate to go bolt on that thing. It really doesn't need it. But the other thing is finding a rubber plug that'll fit in the hole. I don't really have a use for the hole. Like, I'm not even going to put the horn through there, and the horn would go right through the steering box anyway. So it's probably going to enter through somewhere else. But ultimately, once I pack that bearing or grease, it ain't going nowhere. And if I hammer that down, I'm hoping it's not an issue, but I'm hoping it's not too thick walled or something like that. But it seems like it's meant to be kind of a press fit. I'm not sure if I could take an exhaust roller and try to roll that, but I don't think it does 1.5-inch pipe. But I guess the good news is I can probably knock it out again after I start putting it in. So I really don't see it being an issue, and it will really keep it steady, This other one would work very good. I think it's actually more precision, this one, because this one is more, it fits over the shaft, easier. So this one here, I'd have to sand it down, and it would definitely be more precision. But I think because it's a little bit more precision, if there's any kind of bindage, it might start taking the brunt of everything. Where this one is kind of like, it's always going to try to find the general center. I don't think it's like super duper perfect, but has a lot of surface area, so I just don't think it's going to be an issue, So I think it was like $8 on Amazon, so not too bad. So I'll probably clean that up a little bit, use a die grinder, make it a little bit easier to put this in because it's not really that perfect. Where this one here, obviously it's a lot shorter. Same idea, but you could see like this is like squared off here because of probably imperfections of some sort. So once I clean it all up, it'll be fine. I think it'll go in just fine. Oh, one other thing. So this is I pressed this on. I had to use the press. It came out really good in that sense, but we drilled this out to 9/16, but we're going to have to drill it to 5/8 because this right here, originally we were going to drill it to 3/4, but this is actually bigger than 3/4 now, we know. And it's like it's not leaving much of a wall left, around here to really put it in. It might work, but ultimately, I think 5/8 or 11/16 is where you really want to go with that hole, and then grind this down to 5/8 or 11/16. That way, I can really put it in like an inch and a half, and then weld it around. I think that'll be really good then. So that's what I'm going to do. My friend is a little busy today. I don't know if he's going to get to me, but we shall see. But if not, by tomorrow morning, I'll be able to go to him. And like I said, the other one, hey puppy, I don't know if I'll be able to put the bearing inside the other tube where the directional signal goes, or if it's really necessary, because this is going to be splined on this, and the whole thing has a bearing inside it, and this might not be perfect, so because the other one was not perfect, and this one here actually was kind of like a little wobbly on the thing, and where this pressed on, it was wobbly, and then when we held it here, this side was a little more straight when we held it here. Problem is, I pushed this on, and then I realized we had to go bigger, so I don't know if he's gonna be able to clamp this without clamping that. So we may have to try to take this off. I don't know how feasible that is, but we shall see. Okay, so just to show you the gist of what I did here, that is a 3/4 inner diameter, I think it's 1 inch outer diameter bushing that I welded an extension nut to. It's basically for putting two rods together, but I'm going to put a nut at the top to stop it, and then I'm going to have the nut here and a nut on the bottom as well, but at first, you see this is the thing I added. There's a lock wash here, like a waved washer, and I wanted to put this on the inside, but I was afraid that I was going to smash down on it because there's the transition of two different sizes, one for the brake pedal. So before, when I was hitting the brake, it snapped back easy. It's still doing that, okay? But this was just ever so slightly loose. See, now I got to use tension to move it, but it just moves just enough. And I kind of like that because don't forget, this is going to be going up and down from the threads every time it tries to rotate the other way. So there's a little tiny bit of play, and you don't want that play, I'm going to tighten. This play here is just in the threads. I'm going to tighten the nut on the top and all that. When that gets tightened, it'll be fine. And, you could technically put tension on it, but no matter what, if you put tension on it, if it's loose up here, it's gonna have a little knock one way or the other, and eventually that may cause you some headache. In hindsight, would I have just maybe removed this bushing and put a fatter bolt? Maybe, but I just don't think this is going anywhere. This is one of those things that as long as you hold it in the right place, it's just not going anywhere. Like I said, the original bolt was that big. Yes, there was a bracket here, so it was just kind of holding the bracket. I'm just using the bolt, but it's so perfect. And I put it on the outside edge of that bushing on the front part to line up, and there's definitely leeway here because you got so much articulation there in between everything, and of course we already know that the brake pedal doesn't come close to hitting the thing because this is still in the original place. And if it was a Prius, this part here would be bigger from what I remember, but it's a Toyota Yaris, so it's a little bit smaller. Yeah, it makes it a little bit inferior because it was a smaller car, but that's not really a problem here because we got 5. So I just wanted to fill you in with that, how this is all working out. I may still drill this bolt hole up here for the switch because I'm not 100%, because it's pretty much like all the way right now. Like it's got to go in there. But the brake pedal was so much better with it being lubed properly. There's a little bit of load that I have to put one. Nothing crazy. Like I said, there's plenty of free play all in the system. But like I said, instead of putting the switch there, because it's pretty much all the way maxed out, and that's the way I think I had it, because I had a whole bunch of spacers under it. And it seemed to have worked, but when I touched it, it's when now I'm looking, I'm like, oh, this is not looking like it's the threads are any good here. But I was going to change it anyway, but now I'm thinking about putting it the other way. That way it's not really an issue. It's still connected the same way as far as how many, you can't really go that deep, but maybe not. Maybe I can do something with this. Maybe I can make some kind of weld some kind of dish on this that it articulates inside here, or just like a thing that comes up and around, or just even up like that, just so you just see the thing. That way more threads go through. And the same could be said if I left it that way. If I just leave it that way and have an additional mounting spot, maybe that can work. So there's different things I'm thinking about. I think I have to tend to that soon, because although I'll be test fitting this more, once the motor goes in, it's going to be very hard to do that then after the fact. And this is the stop for the thing here, so I don't know how I can incorporate it, but a few things were going through my head, but ultimately I don't think it's too much trouble. We'll find out. I'm a thinking though, I could say that much. But yeah, that's pretty much like it was just the thickness of the and one of the nuts came out, and I don't know where the other one went. I think I had a full size nut on it. That's why. And then the jam nut went somewhere. Yeah, I think this was. I don't know if this was the thread or not, or this one was. Hang on a second. Was this for the? This might be for the steering column. That looks like a coarse thread, but it might have just been like a spacer. I think so. Yeah. I think it acted like a spacer, but it ripped out the threads here. So something was weird. It was probably a little close. But I could probably. I'm just trying to think. If I can just weld this washer to this and then stop it, and then it can go inside the hole there. It'll be a little hard to adjust, but it might be the way to go. But now I got top access, I got bottom access, so this is the time I gotta think of something now about this. So sorry, I had a phone call. So basically, and I don't know if I can put this 180. I might be able to. Yeah, so that guy, look at that. It goes flat with that. So you have more, not something protruding out that way. Well, it's off a little bit. So it's going to have, you're not going to see that because this guy goes here, okay? And I played with the adjustment. Like there's different adjustments to make as you go. And you see what kind of tension you have, if you have any tension. But this guy here, it just seems like it needs to go back further, the whole thing, which might end up being this guy on the shaft, because I said it was a tight fit, and I might have to grind around that just to get it to go on a little bit more, or it may just go on when I whack it on, but I don't want to whack it until I'm ready to go. So it looks like they're just shy of meeting up. Now this is an exhaust tube. Just happens to be AutoZone sold an exhaust tube that was 2-inch inner diameter on both ends. And even though this is thick walled, the outside diameter is the same from the original. So one is going to stick inside here. The horn thing is going to end up in this area here. And I'm not sure if I got to take more off this or put it in here or make this guy shorter. I'm not 100% sure. But in the end, this is your guide. If this is bolted to the dashboard and this guy lines up, and it's like I said, the tube fits perfectly in here. This tube will not fit in here, no matter what I do. I mean, I have to force it, but I don't want to. But that's going to go through and go inside this just a little bit, just to hold it up. Probably not going to weld it because I just don't want to distort things. And this metal doesn't really weld so well, so I might just epoxy it to it because that's all it really needs. It just needs to help align itself. So when all that gets aligned, and this gets bolted on, like I said, it may have to go back a little bit or I have to trim this down. If that's in a good place, then I'm going to be trimming this down because this is the only thing that's preventing this from going down further. So when that holds, that's not going anywhere, and it's in the original position. That is centered right where it needs to be, when that all happens. So, I mean, that's pretty solid. Like, granted, I can go like this right now. I can go to the side, but that's because it has some articulation. It actually, this contraption I made here, it's actually less stress right there. So it's almost like I could have gone inwards on that nut, and I think that's what's happening. Is I'm putting a little bit of tension, but just as it gets to the right point. But tension is kind of good because it keeps everything tight, you know. So I'm not terribly worried about it. And for all intents and purposes, this is good. This is really good. You know, the main the bare bones of it all is all set up here for success. So I'm very happy with the way this came out. I'm very, very happy. It looks real good to me. And I think that's going to be plenty to hold that. Also, the other problem I have is this wiring is touching the motor just at the very end, and the wiring is hard as a rock. And, you know, it may, with the motor, I couldn't move it with the, you know, but with the pushing the motor, then it moves it. But it pushes it for a second, and then it gets behind it. So it's actually, it's not actually putting tension on the wiring. It's actually just missing it. It's like it touches it there, and then boom, once it gets past there, it's behind it, and then this is lined up. You know, when this is lined up, that just misses it. It's just like going alongside it. So it's quite fun. See, look, when I lift the wiring up, it kind of just falls out. The wiring is actually going to keeping it straight right there. So it works out. Yeah, it's all good. So I just realized something that might help me out. So if you look at this, the two mounting holes are exactly in line with the shaft. And in theory, I'm looking at this now. This was like this when I had it bolted in. Now I have it up forward. So now I'm thinking, if I put this bushing the other way, it actually might serve me better. And it's set up because it's right in the middle that I can flip it the other way. I have to take it all out and flip it over, but that's fine. I think I might do that because I think if it was in the back part, it would have been better. Because right now, where it wants to sit is noticeably further forward. You know what I mean? So like even, I don't know. I'm going to double check that, but that's what it seems like. We'll see. All right, so actually, after I unbolted it to get it out, it kind of automatically just kind of pushed out of the way. It is pretty much where it needs to be. All I did was actually, because like there's too much of this rod sticking down, and I might move it even more than this. In fact, I can do it right now. The whole rod is moving. And then when you do this and you look straight on, you'll see how it's... So I think having it, and I could swear I put a washer and a nut here, but apparently it fell out when I'm doing it. So I got to do this anyway again. But regardless, when I lower this down, and I'll probably have to play with this again. Yeah, I mean this is looking like it should be looking. And I'll probably feel there's a lot less tension on it when all is said and done. It's not always easy to figure it all out, but it seems to be that taking off the bracket directly off the motor is the way to go, you know, and this way is nice and firm. I'm very happy with the way this turned out, you know. The only thing I guess I could have done differently, but then it wouldn't be so much room for error, is to actually take out this steel bushing here and put in just a fatter bolt, you know, but then you're trying to squeeze this so it really holds it. I guess it wouldn't be as needed, but you would have pinched it for sure because you don't have a stopping point. A 5/16 bolt can hold a lot of weight, you know, so I'm not really worried about it, you know. And it's an option, and the option in the future. If something, you know, if my engineering doesn't work out, then you can always do that, you know, without like too much trouble and still having it all in the car. So I don't see this being a problem at all, but I did adjust this rod upwards, so it seemed like it was definitely one of the issues. And yeah, that looks pretty close. It's also possible like it needs to be all over like that. It's the hair, but between the universal joint and everything, I don't really see it. You know, there might be a little bit of play between the bolts in the back that just allow me to do that. That's another thing. You can elongate these holes. You can do a few different things, but it just seems like it's just about there, and it's not. These are not issues. You know, this is all good stuff happening. I'm very happy with the way it came out. So we get one piece. to fit into another. Okay, when I pulled this out of the harness with these, these call them bullet connectors, I realized you have to use bullet connectors because then you can't fit them through the column. But you could see the cloth fitting here, and some of it is from me grabbing the wire, which means that the cloth just like crumbles when you touch it. This is a lot of your wiring. When you pull off all the black tape like I did, it doesn't look in bad shape for the most part, but it's still old. And then when you get to in the column where it makes its turns, now you start looking closely, which I didn't do a couple of days ago when I had this apart, and I'm like, oh boy. So you got a couple of pieces there. You got this guy is, where is it? Where's my finger? That guy's exposed. This guy is frayed. This guy is really frayed. And it's like we can get to soldering and everything, but in the end, it's like, how good is this switch really going to be in the end? It seems to be working, and I'm sure if it did work, it worked, but this is something just with handling, it got like worse, but I don't even know what your condition your directionals were in, but this is really not that great. And the thing is, if I try to solder all these connections myself, I'm limited with soldering, number one. Number two, still got to buy the wiring, and you really want 6 different colors or you go kind of fucking crazy figuring out which one is which. So if you have 6 different colors, or you see how they have different designs, it can be, expensive just buying the rolls of wire, because I don't exactly have 6 colors laying around. I might be able to get away with 2 wires, 4 color wires, and then have 2 extra of the same color and like mark them somehow. But I just think this is the right thing to do, is to get a new switch that comes with the wiring that you see in that link I sent you. So I figured, since we got to take apart all this wiring for the lights and everything, I decided to take it off at the light, and you can see that's a mess. And of course, a bolt broke off on me here. This bolt was missing, and thank God they didn't break it off. Right there. So the bolt was able to loosen, but all this goes into this mess over here and into that mess right there. And I don't think we're going to retain these. This is all bullet connectors, and I'm going to put those other things that I have. I got more coming as well. And yeah, it's and we don't necessarily need a connector for this side, but it's kind of good for diagnosis since it's so far removed from where it is, so you don't have to like take this all apart normally, but yeah, I figured I'd just show you this and show you what a mess. So these are the wiring connectors, same like your directional signal. I pulled on these, I got them out, but this I try to push down and it just ripped the wire because there's nothing left them. I can't even get these fucking things out. They're supposed to just pull out, but but then there's all this green and shit that ends up in there. It's not terrible, actually. It's not, it would be cleaned up if you could do it. But to me, I think it's just easier putting the connections that I'm talking about. That's what GM cars had, And then this thing here can be sorted out. This is like double-decker, 2 on top of each other. And I just think there's way nicer ways to do it where you can actually access the wiring, and the wiring can actually dry and not collect moisture, Oh boy. All right, so this is a quick mock-up. I put this bearing in there, and the rest of the shaft is installed. I got to put the cover in here back on. This bolt is loose, and this is not drilled through yet. I'm going to drill through it and put a 5/16 bolt. As you can see, it's plenty through the thing there because we drilled through. I don't think we're going to shear off this whatever pin I put in there. It's just not. It can be a bolt. It's going to be a grade 8 bolt or a made off of a ratchet bolt or a stronger even. I know some people might weld it, but the thing is, it makes this not serviceable then, And I kind of want to keep that open because then, if you rebuilt the steering box, you wouldn't be able to take it apart because you'd have to just buy it. So, and then I got this rod here that I'm using the original mounting part. And you can see it goes up there, and I double nutted it up there so you can turn it with a wrench. And it goes where the original pivot was for the clutch. Try to get a decent angle here. Yeah, you can see right there that I put it right where the clutch is. It moves. It's tight. See that copper washer or bronze washer I put in there? That actually made it so that, because past the bronze washer, you can see it looks like another washer. That was a waved washer, like a lock washer. And that waved washer keeps it in one place for the most part, but it was still loose. And I didn't want the motor to be loose, at all, So it's not going to be anyway, but, torsionally is what you have to prevent it from doing. And it's moving a little now, but these bolts are not tightened. They're not in their final spot, I can actually, I can tighten that up and tighten this guy up. But it came out killer. And this is an exhaust piece, believe it or not. And right now I have the shaft here that is, I'm not quite sure how far it comes out. It's a matter of me eyeballing it when I have the thing back on. It would have been nice if I measured, but I've been through this already where you start measuring and then you trust your measurements, and I keep kind of doing things by eye because I trust it more. But this is tucked away relatively nice, and as you can see, this is going to completely miss it. And I put the brake pedal, the thing that applies the thing, I can't tell if that's actually, it's like just grazing it. Like if the nut was, I guess, a little tighter or a little looser, it would be on the flat, but I can just actually grind that too. I think it is actually hitting it. So I don't know if this wants to go further. It depends when the brake pedal is hooked up. Obviously a normal brake pedal, you're not losing your pedal. It's only going to go so far, but obviously you want the brake pedal to be able to articulate. I might just grind the gusset, because you can do that. Just grind the gusset a little bit. But I'll probably just try to manipulate the nut somehow, But I put that on there to help press you see I made a hole where it closes. Oh, that's not the hole. This is up inside here is the hole. Where is it? Yeah, right there. Right there's a hole, and that's going to close it. And then when you look over here, that's going to be where the thing mounts. I took the rubber bushing out of this. It was on this side. That was a stop for the clutch. And now I'm going to be able to do that, and I can adjust it. And like this is the old one. I'm going to put a different one because I'd like to put lock up in the tranny. But ultimately, right now, that's touching that thing. So if we have it so it ends there, you see there's plenty of adjustment. It's roughly in the right spot. That hole could be drilled bigger. I know I just put 2 nuts here because it's easier. This washer had to be because it's a carriage bolt. I was taking advantage of the fact that it was a square hole in there for the carriage bolt. So in order to relieve that, because normally we would go through 2 pieces of metal, but because we had to space it out, that's what I ended up doing. But it's fine. This is going to, one way or another, it's going to go on. This could rotate. I can bend this a little bit. I can do a lot of things to get this right in the end, and hopefully it doesn't interfere with the speedometer cable, but speedometer cables move, and speedometer cable looks like it's more up here. This is the wiper linkage. You don't want to touch that. Got to fix these wires and these wires. Like this wire might go to the generator. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure, but we don't have a generator anymore. We're going to have direct to the battery with a voltage meter. But this is just all hand tight and everything. But just to show you how I'm going to do the horn now, the horn is going to have a switch over here. Okay. And in the end, I was thinking of something, either you could like put a piece of leather here to kind of block this if you really didn't want to see it, or even sculpt it out of metal somehow and make it look like it's part of the dashboard and have it come down to this, where am I? Let me unzoom it. Have it come down to this point, something along those lines I think will work. And then this is the gas pedal. What's up, doggy? Hi there. So the gas pedal here, this is the original gas pedal on a Fox body Mustang thing. Seems to be working. And it changes angle as you put it. So I don't know. It may help to break in more. It might help to lube it. There might be a couple of things that can be done to make this better. I was thinking of some kind of wheel. I was thinking about grinding off the little bump on the back of the pedal here. But all in all, as far as the steering is concerned, that looks pretty kick-ass. And just to show you, this is just all slipped in right now. So that is the part of the, that is part of the Toyota thing. And so is this. So my friend grinded this down for me. You know, cut that front off. Basically cut the front splines off for that, and we put our splines on. And I got to find the sweet spot where I can weld this together. And I gotta put solder a wire to that, and I'll put it through this hole here, you know, and then continue it through the hole going down the shaft. And that'll be the contact for your horn. I ordered that special horn wire. Like I said, this thing doesn't go through this pipe. Let me just unbolt this real quick. I don't know how quick I can do this because I want to send it, and if it gets too big, I can't send it. Okay, this is that exhaust pipe I was talking about, the slide. This is the original thing. Might have to trim it down more, but ultimately this is the horn ring, and we're going to put a horn switch that's meant to contact this. This is off a Jeep, and I want it to be there so I don't have to go through this metal too. And but ultimately, it's pretty kick-ass. Everything's going to work out. I got to wait for more parts though. All right, so I just thought of an ingenious idea because I do have a problem here. Like, this guy is all the way bent out of the way, and of course this doesn't hit and the pedal goes all the way down. But when I put the unit, it's, even though it wasn't hitting before, I tried messing with the nut, and now the nut is hitting. Where am I? Can you see it with the video? Yeah, so that nut hits it, and then it's like way in the way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut that whole thing off, because look how much flat we have. We have plenty of flat surface there. Okay, if I cut it off here, or right before there, it should clear everything. And then I'm just going to drill the hole that I need to drill sooner over here. So that, and I'll set up, and I'll move the bracket I had right here. I hope you can see it on this. Where the hell am I? Yeah, move this guy down here like an inch, and move this an inch, and it should be fine. That should work, and the flat steel will turn off the switch. Because here I had to fill up that hole, you know, and then maybe it's like I can weld a washer to it or some sort, you know, but I'd rather not have weld under the dashboard and stuff like that. So I think it'll work out in the end, you know, I really do. So I think it's definitely a doable thing, and it'll definitely make it easier, you know. Because just by me wrenching that, I bent the freaking arm, and it's too much fumbling with it. I think in the end, it'd be just easy to read it. See, I bent it back, and I bent it too far. It's not exactly in that hole, so this will save a lot of headache. The hard part is actually drilling the physical hole. Hopefully the pedal gets out of the way when I push it all the way down. But because this one, I just drilled through the hole that was in it. to line up the hole. That way I knew I was right, but I think it's not going to be an issue. Okay, so this is the problem with the shifter. When I welded it, I thought it got a little slag in here, and I cleaned it up a little bit, you know, little marks, little balls get in, but it really wasn't that. See, it has these little gasket things here, and they're made of thin plastic, and it makes it work smooth. Despite me putting grease in there, I had a little bit of grease, nothing crazy, but they kind of warped because they just got too hot. So I got to find something to replace that. But it's not user-friendly taking it apart. Not that you're going to need to, but I'm probably going to put what they call extruded nuts, which are these things that you slide into the sheet metal, and then I can just bolt it in from the top. Because if I try to put the bolt straight in, I needed it very long to be able to catch the nut. But that was when this was open, and now that it's closed, the bolts just fell out. And I had the bolts from the bottom because the heads were small and they weren't going to touch anything. So that was concerning. So it seems like I'll be able to put it this way. I just may have to get shorter bolts when I do that. I'm not 100% sure. Also, I don't know. I was thinking maybe we can even space it out some more to change the angle. Also, this bolt here that comes with it. It really doesn't work because this is a stop nut. It has the plastic insert, and when it's all the way tight, it's like too tight. And if I leave it loose, it just barely contacts this plastic, and the plastic is what's going to keep the adjustment in it. So it's not right, So made by the Taiwanese, but ultimately, I do have a little bit of a curve here, when all was said and done. But then this was all weird, and I had to go down over here to try to keep this at the same angle, So definitely a few things. It's not easy, by any means. But maybe I'll add another spacer of some sort. Get thick washers. They sell them, and the other thing I had to take it apart was because there's some kind of gasket that goes over. You're supposed to poke a hole. It really looks chintzy, but it's around here somewhere, I think. It's like a sheet of vinyl. Yeah, here it is. So you're supposed to put this on, and it acts like a gasket, and you just cut a hole in it for the thing to go past. So I don't know how much it's really, really doing, but I'll follow the directions. But being that we're also, I was looking to space it more, that's something, because if you have a gasket, then it doesn't really matter if it's coming away from it, so to speak, I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do it, but because this one got fucked up, but I had a fender washer on it, so it wasn't an issue. But as long as the clip holds in there, it's not going to be an issue. Like I said, it's a clip that has a nut on it built in. So hopefully that'll work. It actually might act like a spacer, but then again, it'll be spaced on all four then. So just thinking of a few different things for this to make it, a little more user-friendly and serviceable. All right. Look at this. Nice wiring. This came from the other side. Oh boy, I knew this was going to be like this. Unfortunately, my phone is a piece of shit, yet I made a bunch of videos, and I can't prove it now, but in any case, to get this switch out, because it's all part of the headlight system, somebody already cut it here. So this was done a long time ago, not by the guys that you bought it off of, but I bent this up, and hopefully I can get it bent back. I was able to get it out, but they just buried it. So the last guy got it out and got it relatively flat. Of course, one of the bolts was fucking fucked up. I actually put weld on top of the bolt so I can grab it with a vice grip. But other than that, I got that part of the wiring out. As you can see, the switch is not really that old, but it was done a while ago. The car doesn't see much mileage, obviously, but probably the right thing to do is just change it. All right, this took forever to put all these. So I put the original, the same wiring I used for the headlights. That way it sticks with the same colors for the most part for the rears, because they're basically similar circuits. And then I added, a lot. I added a thick red wire, 12 gauge, so you can actually have some kind of power back there of some sort. And then I added a blue, purple, an orange, and a gray wire. So that's a total of 9 wires. Pretty much all I could fit. I had a hard time. And then you see this out of the little guy here. I ran him up, and that's going to feed this guy up here. The only thing is, this guy here, I can fix the end here, but this goes up and over to the other side, apparently, for the other light. Ain't doing that. The only way I could do it is if I was able to pull it through, and almost every single time these things are they're secured. And the thing is, that's probably the best. I said it before with other wiring, but I said it's probably the best conditioned wire in the car. But this is a disaster. This is all going to get rewired, this thing. And hopefully I have enough here to work it with. So, it ended up being, you have to put a lot more wiring than you expect. So this black rubber thing pretty much is going to be like under the seat, right to here. So the seat will plenty cover it. It's in this heavy duty thing. This thing was kind of fucked up already, but it was a much smaller wiring, so it was able to fit under there better. I'm probably just better off cutting this off, because like I said, it was already fucked up, and I had to bend this up a little bit to force it through. And then at the very end here, it's because I bent it up, it kind of went out, skewed a little bit out of the way. But basically all that wiring is going there, and between some of it going here and some of it going there, I have all this. Not sure what I'll do with the power wall, where I'll make it accessible. I was thinking about a trunk light, perhaps, if this interests the owner. Yeah, a lot of work. That was difficult. That was a hell of a thing to see that come out. But I must say, this is probably the best it's going to be for what it is. And it's fine to go over the seatbelt, because you just have to slide it out of the way to do it. I don't even have to really. I was talking about taping it down, and I don't think I have to, but that's going to go right over it like that. So it's just not going to be an issue. So, boy, that was fun. And this is how you make a wiring harness. Speaking of wiring harnesses, this guy here, they had 2 clumps of wires going in 2 different directions, one longer than the other. I'm not quite sure why. Everything they had was kind of like just haphazardly put in the end, and I had to cut all the tape that they put on it, and I had to make little groups, because you got some groups that are only on with the key, and there's 4 different groups. 3 are on with the key, and 1 is on all the time, and some go inside the car to the dashboard, some go to the headlight switch, this one goes right to the horn, these go to the engine compartment but on the engine itself, and this goes to the directional signal switch, and there's other wires that are still in between all this, and then there's the whole lighting harness that's going to come from the headlight switch, which I got a problem with that too, and then there's more wires that go to that, of course. So I had just randomly picked out a cheap light switch. It's quite durably nice, this whole thing, and I got the harness for it. Now, unfortunately, it's Chinese plastic, so when I pushed it in, it was so hard, this side broke off when it snapped over it, because it couldn't expand that much. Partly with it being cold, I guess, but that shouldn't have happened. But 2 problems. The first problem is the rod doesn't fit, and that's the difference with doing this. Because I was like, why try to find a 1950 switch? You know what I mean? Because they're like really expensive, and they're not really user friendly. I don't like the way they light up the car, where the parking lights shut off when you put the headlights on and whatnot. But this is not triangle. I'm trying to. Give me a second. Come on. So it's flat on one side and semicircular. So I got to get a different one of these guys that fits this. But before that, even, I realized after trying to figure out which wires go where, what they did, they had smaller ones of these, and this doesn't fit. And to get that nut would be difficult, and none of them are this deep. So I'm like, I'm thinking of all these oh no kind of things in my head. So I either got to make something, or I got to, it's possible an earlier year switch has the same thread. So I'm going to try to go look to see what's available. I'm not sure if the plug would still fit the earlier switches, but there might be something to it, you know. Something tells me this just isn't meant to be, because I went to go pull this off, and this side shot out. It's so hard. The thing is, though, even if I could use this, or I can use this, the thing, it's a nice tight fit in here. It ain't going nowhere. In fact, it's not going anywhere. But it's still frustrating dealing with aftermarket parts sometimes. But it looks like a nice switch otherwise. But I'm a bit bummed about the size things and everything. I'm going to take this with me to see if it can fit a different switch that has the same size hole. So I'm going to look at one from, like, because I just picked a 87 Bronco. I'm going to try a 79 Bronco, or maybe something earlier. We'll see. But I really want the headlights to turn on with the parking lights and stay on, you know. Even though it's not normal for this car to have that, but it's a nice touch in my opinion.